Hey friends, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm going to give you guys a quick warning, trigger warning, if you will, in case talking about weight loss, health, fitness, if any of that is in any way, shape, or form something that is a sensitive topic for you, this episode is not for you. So skip to the next episode, go listen back, binge some old episodes. That's totally fine. But this has been probably one of my most highly requested topics via social media for the past, I would say maybe 3 or 4 years. And I am really excited / a little bit nervous to bring on my very own health and fitness coach, Kristen, and I'm going to introduce her to you guys now, but I did want to give you guys that warning because I know that I could be really sensitive to that topic, especially when I was in the thick of it. In the thick of it when I was thicker. No, but really I was a little more sensitive to it. And so I wanted to make sure I was telling you guys what's coming up. But we have got the amazing Kristen Bowlus with us. Kristen is an incredible coach. She is a wife. She's a mom of 2 little boys. She has a passion for nutrition, fitness, and running, which can't relate, but I love the first 2 things. She's a certified personal trainer, and she has been for almost a decade now. She has her bachelor's in exercise and sports sciences with a minor in nutrition. So this woman is highly qualified, and she has helped so many people in person achieve their fitness goals. And now she helps women virtually achieve their weight loss goals through teaching a healthy lifestyle. And honestly, the thing that really draws me to Kristen and the reason that I think this conversation is going to be such a healthy one around weight loss and health and fitness and nutrition is that she really does present it in a way that is not solely based in appearances or what you look like. It's all about health and what you feel like. And we'll dive into all that. Kristen, welcome to the show. Tell us all about why you do what you do now and how you got to this point in your life.
Well, thank you, Laylee. Thank you for that introduction. And honestly, I know you gave a trigger warning about people coming on, but I would just say if you have ever been triggered in the past by this topic, maybe just give this listen a try, because I think like you said, I do have a little bit of a different take on it. And I really want all of this to be lifestyle, long-term, looking at your health, and not necessarily let's get to the lightest way I possibly can. I don't want that. I want it to be more so, hey, let's look at how can we get healthier step by step, baby steps in the beginning, and make this a lifelong process, honestly, that we enjoy throughout the whole time. But I'm so passionate about it. I think it started, honestly, I've just always had a really healthy relationship with food growing up. I know a lot of people don't have that as a past. Some people have bad image of food growing up because of their parents or whatever, eating disorders. I've always had a really healthy image of food. I think because of my mom. My mom always cooked every meal for us. She ate the same things we ate. So she was never on these yo-yo diets. She was eating the same foods we were eating. She was cooking every meal. We had our breakfast, our lunches, our dinners all prepared by her. And we were seeing, carbs at meals. We were seeing proteins at meals. We were seeing every macronutrient. And a macronutrient, for anyone who doesn't know, is just the main nutrients that we get from our food. So that's proteins, carbs, and fats. It's what our body needs to function. And I always had a healthy relationship with that, and then got into college, and then I got to learn about what each of those things was doing in my body, the carbs, the fats, the proteins, and at the same time, my fitness and working out. I worked out and played sports all through high school, and then when I got into college, I became a personal trainer my first year. So I wanted to incorporate fitness and nutrition and health all into my career growing up. I knew that that's what I wanted to do from a very young age. And so all of those things just kind of played a role into where I am now and why I wanted to do it. And I think college was great because I got to learn the personal training side of things, the exercise side of things, but then at the same time, I was minoring in nutrition and learning more about nutrition. And so I think that kind of is what shapes me into the lifestyle thing, is because I saw a healthy lifestyle modeled for me. And then I got into college and I learned what a healthy lifestyle does for you. And it shaped me into the person I am today and why I have a passion for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I feel like it is unique. And you had kind of that unique relationship with fitness and with food that a lot of people actually, like you said, don't. I personally, I grew up dancing, as you know, and I always struggled with my weight. I grew up in like the 90s and the early 2000s, and that's like not a great time for body positivity or neutrality at all. It's very much like it was like, how small can you possibly be? Plus, add in that I was like in a dance studio my whole life. And so I developed really unhealthy habits and a really unhealthy way of looking at weight and weight loss. And you had to undo, as my coach, like a lot of that for me. And you did such a great job. And so, to give people like a little background of why this has been such a heavily requested topic, we started working together. Kristen and I started working together. It was like August, September of 2020. It is now, at the time of this recording, 2025. So 5 years ago, we started working together. And I want to put this out there because I think it'll comfort a lot of people. I never hit my end goal. Like, I'm still working with Kristen, but I have made so much progress. I lost 85 pounds, I think, in that time, in the span of 4 years, 4+ years. And it took a long time, but obviously that's a big amount of weight. And so it was very visibly noticeable. And my job, being on social media, being a speaker, being somebody who's in the public eye in a way, obviously people notice that, right? And so everybody wants to know, like, how did you do it? What did you do? Like, what's the secret? And I literally was like, we've got to bring Kristen on because it's you just changed my life and you changed my mindset and you changed the way that I approached it. And my life has gotten so much better with your guidance. I'm going to cry while I'm talking, but truly, it has been life-changing. It has been so life-changing. And so I want to bring that to my listeners and my audience and my people, and to tell them that, like, what are the quote unquote secrets? Like, we're going to find out. So Kristen, let's talk about the secrets here.
Well, I think the biggest thing that you touched on, and the biggest thing for people to take away from this, is it takes time. And if something is quick and it's advertised as lose this much weight in this amount of time, it's probably not the best thing for you health wise. And I love your story because it does take time. And there were times where maybe the weight plateaued for a little bit, but then we saw more progress. And then it maybe plateaued for a little bit and we saw more progress. But you were doing it the way that you should. You were living a healthy lifestyle and you made habits along the way that is allowing you to sustain the results you have seen. And I think that is so, so important. And if we just skip that long process, there's going to be consequences to that. The process that gets you to your results are the habits that you've built. That's what sustains your results at the end. So if we just jump from you wanting to lose weight to you losing weight, and we take that quick jump and it takes a month or two or whatever, depending on how much weight you want to lose, but you didn't take the time to incorporate lifestyle changes, then when we get to your result, you're either going to gain weight back because you don't know how to sustain it, or you are super unhealthy. You've lost a ton of weight and you've lost possibly muscle, and you've done it in a way that is not going to last, and you might not be healthy on the inside. And I think the health on the inside is actually the most important thing that we should keep our focus on, and then the weight will come off as it needs to. And so I think that's really important that we keep our focus on health. But I mean, I can apply the same thing to my marathon training. Like if I just said, hey, one day I want to go run a marathon and I didn't train for it, man, there's going to be consequences that next day when I wake up after. I mean, I'm probably going to have some pretty bad injuries. I might not be able to run for months because of my injuries. There's consequences to skipping that process. That process is super important. And so, yes, it's going to take longer. And I'm not someone that's going to say, hey, you can lose weight in X amount of time, because I truly don't know how long it'll take each individual person. But I can say, I'm going to give you things to incorporate into a healthy lifestyle, and those things are going to make you healthier. They're going to help you and bring joy to your life too.
Absolutely. I think it's so interesting. Like when I hear you talk about it, I think back to all of our calls, even in the first year or two, where it was so frustrating sometimes. And I would want to give up and I'd be like, well, I'm just not seeing like what I want to see. And I want to get to that goal. And you would always remind me of that. And I think that that's such an encouragement and such an important thing for people to remember, that it is about, at the end of the day, even if you're like, well, I'm doing this because I want to look a certain way, or I'm doing this because I don't feel like myself anymore. In my particular instance, I have struggled with my weight my entire life, and it's been up and down my entire life, because your girl can crash diet and lose, 20 pounds, but it has always come back. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it's shorter. But up until now, like in my adult life, this is the longest I've maintained like a really healthy weight and lifestyle. And I feel a million times better than I've ever felt in my life. And I'd love to talk about some things that people who are listening to this can start implementing into their lives to feel like the best versions of themselves. Because I have to say, the people listening to this show, you guys, y'all are entrepreneurs. You're busy. I get it. So am I. We put our businesses first. We put ourselves like eighth. We don't even put ourselves second. But our businesses can't survive if we're not the healthiest versions of myself. And my business started to thrive when I started to thrive. So like, I'd love to give people like your top tips. Like, what can people start doing today?
Yeah. Okay. So honestly, the first thing is movement. And I talked to Laylee about this a lot, is movement, as many steps as we can get. So I think for any of your listeners that don't have a watch that tracks steps, I think that's a great first purchase for them to get healthier. It's so simple because you can put your watch on and you can see how many steps you get a day. And if you're somebody who doesn't get up much at all from your desk, start small. Honestly, start with a goal of 6,000 steps, 6,000. And then every week, add on about 200 steps to that goal. And then that's going to progress. And when you get to 10,000, that is a great goal to have. But I don't want to start everyone off at 10,000. I'm thinking a really good starting goal is that 6,000 if you're someone who doesn't walk a lot. And then 200 steps every week, you progress, you slowly progress. And that's how I am with everything. We don't need to jump to all these crazy goals to have if we can't sustain them. So we got to start small. And I think movement is just so important. And so steps are huge. Another big tip I have is starting to cook or just eating at home, not going out to eat. When we go out to eat, we first of all don't know what they put in your food. We don't know every ingredient. We don't know how much fat, how much oils, all the stuff that's going into it. And so we can control what we cook at home. And so I think a great tip is starting to cook at home and going grocery shopping the perimeter of the grocery store. We talk about this. A lot of the fresh produce, Whole Foods, good things are in the perimeter. You can still go to the middle aisles, but we just don't want all of our food coming from the middle aisles. So looking, at the perimeter first and then going into the center aisles for some things that you need to add on. And then another thing is looking at food labels, just looking at what you're eating. It's pretty eye-opening when you start looking at food labels and you can start Googling things. You can say, what is this? And if you can't pronounce it, it's usually not good for you.
Maybe don't eat that. Yeah.
Yeah. If the first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup, probably shouldn't be eating that either. And for anyone who doesn't know this, the first ingredient on a food label is what's the most in that food item. So if the first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup, then that item is mostly high fructose corn syrup. And that's not good for you. So thinking like just starting to educate yourself on what is in your foods is eye-opening. And another thing that I think is very underrated, but is also really, really important is water. And I tell Laylee all this all the time too, is to drink water. And a good goal to start off with is just 80 ounces, which if you have a Stanley, if you have the 40-ounce Stanley, that's 2 of those a day. So it's not like some crazy goal, just starting off small. And then we add more if we need to with more activity. And then another one is working out. I think that's a very, very important one, especially strength training. Strength training is just, I think, one of the best things you can be doing, especially as you age. I don't know how old your audience typically is, but Laylee, what do you think?
They're so young, just like me. No, I'm just kidding. Probably, I feel like we have listeners anywhere like in their 20s, 30s, 40s.
Okay. Yeah. So honestly, after the age of 30, especially women, we start to lose 0.5% of our bone density. And so strength training is literally going to strengthen your bones so that when you are later in life and you have the chance of getting osteoporosis and falling and all that stuff, like we can prevent that now if we start strength training. Like strength training is so important for your muscles, for losing weight, because muscle is going to burn more calories than fat. but it's also so important for your bones and for your health later on. And one thing me and Laylee talk about a lot too is the future. And we're working towards who we want to be 5 years from now, not just what we want to look like 3 months from now, but how we want to feel and who we want to be like 5 years from now.
So helpful. I feel like if you need to go back and listen to that and jot those things down, you should, but also know that we have the transcript on our show notes so you can go like literally write that list out. But I also want to give the encouragement that like everything you listed, it sounds like one, very doable, but once you start doing it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be perfect at this. But I want to be clear that like 5 years in, she kind of like laughs half the time she's saying like I talked to Laylee about this because I'm still, you guys, before we hit record, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten one workout in today. It's Wednesday. And she's like, well, it's Wednesday. You better get that workout in. Like, it's never going to be perfect, but it's a practice, right? And it's something you have to be cognizant of. But I love what you said about making it approachable. Like, I also really love that you never said in your first steps, like, count every calorie you eat or like, go from 0 to 10,000. That's so important too. And I just think that that's like a unique take on it as well.
And anyone who like even works with me, that is an approach that I take with everybody is everyone's journey with me is going to look different because everyone's starting point is different. And I really have to like make sure I know who I'm working with and what their past is. And if someone does have a really, really unhealthy relationship with tracking, then tracking isn't necessarily the route we're going to go. I think tracking is a great approach for learning about food and learning about how much protein is in something or how many carbs are in something and that we need enough of it. But it's really important to know the person and what works for each person as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's such an important thing to recognize that everybody is so different and what works for one person is not going to work for anybody else. I also love what you said about the future because I feel like, especially for those of us who are creative entrepreneurs in the digital space, it is so easy to judge ourselves and to say, like you said, you want to look a certain way. I work with a lot of public speakers. And I even said this when I first signed on with you. I was like, when I'm on stage, I want to look my best. Like, I want to be in clothes that make me feel good. I want to feel confident. I don't want to think about my weight or my size. To clarify as well, you guys, like when I first started working with Kristen, I had been at my heaviest and it came on fast. Like, it was like within 2019 and 2020 that I had gained an excessive amount of weight because I stopped my dance teaching career and shifted into just being at a computer. And so there was like a really big shift there. And we did have to like learn a lot. But what I loved was every single time I was like, this isn't what I look like. I need to look like how I used to be. Like, I need to have this exact size. Kristen would constantly remind me, like, it's 5 years from now when you look back, where will you be? And now that I'm 5 years in the future, I'm like, you were so right. Like, I just feel even though I'm still working, right? I'm still working toward new goals and I want to be stronger. Right now we're working on, like Kristen said, strength training is so important. I want to be leaner and stronger and I want to be able to like do more things and be even more fit and like in that way more than like a specific weight. But I love that you talk about the future so much.
And I'm so honored that we are still together 5 years into the future.
And we took breaks, awesome. Right? Like that's another thing.
We
like
did.
For people to know. Yeah, we're not like every week for 5 years straight, but it's like that's the best part, I think, about understanding when you talk about the longevity of being healthy and of making it a lifestyle change is it's like there were years I was fine and now I want some help. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine. I mean, we should never feel ashamed for trying to get help or have someone helping us. We get help all the time. We go to doctors when we're sick. We go and get counseling when we need it. Like, we shouldn't be ashamed to get the help that we need in areas that we are not as comfortable with. So I think it's really important to get that help if you feel like you need the extra guidance. But talking about the future, I do kind of want to share this one thing that a professor, he shared with me in college, and it has stuck with me to this day. Literally, it was like one of our last lectures before we graduated, and he wanted to end it with something that would really stick with us, and honestly, it totally did. But it kind of goes in with working out and exercise. But he said, if I could give you this magic pill, and it would lower your blood pressure, your resting heart rate, help your bad cholesterol, raise your good cholesterol, prevent all kinds of different diseases, some cancers, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, stroke, improve your sleep, help you feel better, helps with anxiety, depression, prevents falls in older populations. I mean, he went down a whole list of things, strengthens your bones, and then gives you a 49% chance of living longer. Would you take that magic pill? And for all of us that were listening, there were some people who were totally zoned out, but I was so engaged. I was like, of course, yes. Of course I would take that pill. And he said, well, these are all things, first of all, that doctors prescribe medicine for. Usually they're prescribing medicines because they've already come across this disease or already experienced the consequences. So they're giving these things and it's more like a Band-Aid, but there's medicine out there to help with all of these things. But he said there's a magic pill that you can take, and it takes 30 minutes to swallow, and you take it 5 days a week, and that is exercise. And the way he put it is, so that's 150 minutes a week. That's 2.5 hours out of our entire week. There's 168 hours in our whole week. And that's 2.5 hours that you spend working out. So that could be moderate intensity. So that could be walking, that could be lifting weights, whatever it might be, whatever workouts that you're interested in. And all of those things happen if you spend that amount of time working out. And it was just eye-opening because, okay, 2.5 hours out of the whole week, most people spend like 4 hours on their phones, a minimum a day.
Yeah.
So I know you talked about like your audience, entrepreneurs, and really, really busy and putting themselves last. This is a way that you could easily devote 2.5 hours out of your entire week for you personally. And if you can do that, there are so many health benefits that are going to follow you for the years to come. And if you can create those habits now, 5 years down the road, it's going to be something that you look back and are so proud that you started. So I love sharing that story because it's something that has stuck with me. And just the way he put it was just really, really cool.
I love that. I mean, I think it is so eye-opening, and it's also something that I think is really encouraging to know that it doesn't have to be hours every single day. 30 minutes a day is so doable. Like, y'all, get a walking pad for under your desk. Get that TikTok famous walking pad. I have it. I've had it for years and I love it. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it does take, purchasing a watch that tracks your steps or hiring a coach. 10 out of 10 recommends hiring a coach. You know what I mean? But hiring Kristen in particular, be careful the coaches that you hire. But, all of those things, they're doable things, and they're investments in your health and your life, which then feed into every other aspect of what you do, including your business. What is something like, Kristen, when you look at all the people that you've worked with in the past, myself included, and, I know that you've helped like hundreds of women. What is something that you see that you're like, I wish I could just tell this to the general public? I know that you've mentioned like the basics and the things that are really important, but is there like one thing that really sticks out to you that like, if I could just say one thing to everybody, like what would it be that would help them improve their health?
I think honestly, it has a little bit less to do with health and just more with like your image about yourself, but just love yourself for where you are right now. And I know that's really challenging for some people to love yourself where you are right now. But I think if you truly can't find your joy and your happiness right now and along the way, I think you still might be missing that joy and happiness when the results come. And so I think finding that now and really, really enjoying the process of getting healthier, not constantly looking in the mirror and wishing it was different, or constantly looking at other people and wishing you looked more like them or whatever. Like if we're constantly looking at something and then we finally get there, we might not even be happy with the person in the mirror. And so I think really shifting your mindset to find your happiness right here, right now, especially when you're going on this journey that can take a long time in the years to come and like the months to come. Finding happiness and joy in the process, because I've seen people lose weight and still not be happy and still want more. And well, I don't have the 6-pack abs. I still don't have the 6-pack abs. I'm training for a marathon. I don't have 6-pack abs. Like there are just some things that we have to find joy in other areas and find joy along the way. Does that make sense, Laylee?
absolutely does. And I think it's such an encouragement and also really important. And I think I struggled a lot with that. Like I said, when I first started working with you, it was rough. Like I was in a rough place mentally around that. And I do think that once I started to incorporate like some of those things that you mentioned, getting the movement in, taking care of my body, I started to really appreciate my body for what it was and what it could do. And I started having a lot more gratitude around that. And I don't think that that happens like on accident. I think you have to be really like conscientious of it. So I'm really happy that you shared that. I don't know what she was going to say, y'all, but I think it's so important. And I also think it speaks a lot to just like in our businesses and just like for our mental health, like finding the right business coach, finding the right therapist. If you're going to have support on this health and wellness journey, you need the right kind of person. And I sound like I'm an advertisement for you because I am, because I needed somebody like you that would say like, no, you're great the way you are. If you stayed this way, like that's great, but let's get you the healthiest version of this way that we can, you know?
Yeah. And enjoy the process while you're doing it for sure, because I wanted you to be happy along the way. Because I knew personally it's going to take time. And I wanted you to be happy during the time that it was going to take you to see the weight loss or to get healthier. I wanted you to enjoy that. So,
man, did it take time.
That's okay.
It took so much time. I was like, let's go. But it was honestly like a blessing in disguise. I think that it took so long because I'm able to look back and think like, well, if I could do that, like I can do anything. And I would say maybe like, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe like a quarter of the way through, I started just being like, I'm happy now. Like I feel good. Let's keep going.
Honestly, you've said that for a long, long time. Like I can't even remember when I don't even know the last time that we talked and you didn't seem like you were just happy with who you are. And I think that is the biggest thing for me personally, like that I take away. Of course, I want my clients to be at their healthiest way. But when someone tells me that they feel better and that they're confident in their body, or that they can have more energy to play with their kids, or just little wins like that, it like means the world to me. It makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing something right. I'm helping this person somehow. Because honestly, to me, the weight doesn't matter. Like I look at you and I think you're beautiful the way you are, or you're perfect the way you are. But I want you to feel amazing. And that's what makes me just happy, is knowing that you do.
I love that so much. And I would love to know too, like as we wrap up this episode, because you've given people such great like tangible tips that they can start incorporating. Do you have an unpopular opinion on like the weight loss, health, fitness industry as a whole? Like, do you have an unpopular opinion on this journey that you could share with people?
I mean, honestly, I don't like the marketing of the fast weight loss. I just don't, because I know it does take time and I think it confuses so many people. And it's just a way for people to make money, is to, hey, I can get you these results, but I can get you them in 2 months or 3 months or whatever. And I think most of the time, even if they do get you those results in 3 months, are they actually teaching you healthy, sustainable lifestyle goals or lifestyle changes that are going to help you in your future? So I steer far away from that. I also steer away from things that eliminate a whole macronutrient from your diet. I'm very much so into a balanced, everything's included. We can have everything. We limit some things, but we should have all of them. Every macronutrient, and again, that's proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. All three of those play a different role in your body. Carbs, great for quick energy, for your brain function. Your brain runs off of so many carbs a day. And so if we don't have enough carbs, we have brain fog. We can't think clearly, which is huge for our everyday lives. Protein helps muscles, structures, bones, all those kinds of things. That's what protein's going to do for you. Help you to lose weight faster because you're putting on more muscle, and muscle is going to burn more calories. And then fat is great for your body. It's great for your hair, your skin, your nails, and insulating your organs and everything. So there's roles that each of them play. And so if we eliminate one, now our body's not functioning the way it should. And so I try to stay far away from somebody who is going to sell something that is going to take away one of those, like a low carb diet or a really, really high fat diet or a low fat diet. Most people are fine with protein. So No one's trying to eliminate protein that I think of.
No, yeah. Well, as someone who's tried every single one of those diets, I really appreciate that I can eat carbs with you.
Yes, carbs are so good. I love carbs. And I was just telling one of my clients the other day, I gave her more carbs. I gave her more carbs to lose weight, guys. And it works. It's crazy. It works. But she's retrained her mind because growing up, carbs were bad and we're supposed to have carbs. And now she's having to realize, okay, carbs are actually good for my body. They help me along the way and they help my body function properly. And so it's just that retraining of your mind. Also, we need calories to survive and we need a lot of them. And luckily, I feel like the market out there is changing. I feel like most people are actually not like saying you should eat like less than 1,000 calories. Like, I feel like that's not happening anymore, which is really, really good.
I remember when it was. That was a lot.
Yeah. So I feel like people are educating themselves more. I think people do realize that you do need food to function and it helps you to lose weight if you're eating enough of it. It gives you a healthy metabolism to help you be able to do that. So those are kind of my things.
I love that. Oh my gosh, so helpful. And I feel like you're just such a wealth of knowledge in this, but I also really appreciate just the encouragement behind it as well. Like, it's okay if you got to like take things slow and everything is a balance. And I think that's just such a refreshing take on what has previously been such a like toxic, I guess, industry and messaging around it. It's just been really nice for somebody like me who has tried it all to see that like there is a balance and you can feel great and have all of this at the end of the day. So where can people find out more about like working with you? Because I know that you have a new website, you're like open to chatting with a few more people. And I will say, you guys, like get in line because Kristen is my coach first, like, and she's not going anywhere.
Laylee, I will always be your coach. Always, always.
Yeah.
So I have a website. It's herworthwellness.com. And there they can book an initial consultation with me where we can just get on the phone and talk about where they're at, their goals, and see if we're like compatible. Like if you get on the phone with me and you're like, oh, nope, I don't like this girl, it's okay. Like you don't have to sign up. But I have my prices on there as well so that you know what you're kind of getting into to talk with me. But if you're someone who doesn't want to dive deep into health coaching just yet, but wants help with workouts, I have 2 workout programs that you can purchase on my website. And there's a volume 1, which is perfect for beginners, someone who wants to get into strength training, but really, first of all, doesn't have a whole lot of time in their day. It's 3 workouts. It starts at 3 workouts a week, moves into 4 workouts a week. They start off at just like 30 minutes long. So they're not long workouts. They progress. If you're someone who is a little bit more familiar with weight training and wants a little bit more of a challenge, you can always start with volume 2, or you can purchase both and it's 6 months worth of workouts, which is just crazy. Think about where you could be in 6 months and having that all laid out for you. There's pictures with demos and everything so that you know what you're doing while you're doing it. And yeah, so those are where you can find me. You can also find me on Instagram, but I'm not very good at posting on Instagram. Maybe I'll get better at it.
Yeah. I might like push you into that a little bit, like share some tips and tricks over on the gram. But honestly, like I think what I love about you is like you take your personal relationships really seriously, and like working with you in these capacities are so thoughtful and intentional. Like your guides are thoughtful and intentional, and your coaching as well. So 10 out of 10 recommend, obviously, because hello, I'm like the #1 success story. But thank you so much for sharing all of this information with our people. I think it's going to be so helpful for them.
Thank you for having me. I loved every bit of it. And I can definitely come back, Laylee. If someone wants to dive deeper into some type of subject, I will be back and I will totally do it. So
yes, we'll have to do that for sure. 100%. We should do like a live coaching call with somebody. That would be really fun.
Yes, that'd be fun.
So cool. Thank you so much, Kristen. All right, you guys, we'll see you on the next episode.